Most students think only about today's test, today's homework, today's pressure, but an A+ student sees beyond the moment. They understand that every decision they make today is quietly shaping the person they will become tomorrow. They don't ask, will this help me pass? They ask, will this prepare me for my future? That one question changes everything. It changes how they study, how they manage time, how they handle struggle. They realize that success is not built in one night of cramming, but in thousands of small, faithful choices made when no one is watching. An A+ student knows that comfort is temporary, but growth lasts a lifetime. While others choose ease, they choose effort. While others chase shortcuts, they choose substance. They understand that the hours spent studying when it's hard are the very hours that will open doors later. They see education not as a burden but as a calling, a responsibility to use their potential fully. They don't waste time asking why life is difficult. They accept that discipline now prevents regret later. This long-term vision gives them strength when motivation fades. When the material feels overwhelming, they remember the future they are building. When distractions call their name, they remember the purpose pulling them forward. They are not driven by fear of failure, but by faith in what consistent effort can produce. They believe that every page read, every concept practiced, every sacrifice made is laying a brick in a foundation that will not crumble. And here is the truth many never learn. Greatness is not accidental. It is intentional. A+ students don't drift into success. They walk toward it with clarity. They understand that the world does not reward excuses. It rewards preparation. So they prepare when others procrastinate. They plan when others panic. They work when others wait. If you can lift your eyes from the pressure of today and see the promise of tomorrow, you will study differently, live differently, and rise differently. Because a student who thinks long, never stays average for long. Many students wait for motivation to arrive like a feeling, as if one day they will wake up inspired and ready to work. But an A+ student understands a deeper truth. Motivation is unreliable, but discipline is faithful. Feelings change, energy rises and falls, but discipline stands firm when emotions do not. The students who rise to the top are not the most excited. They are the most committed. They study not because they feel like it, but because they have decided who they are and what they will do. Discipline is choosing what matters most over what feels good in the moment. It is opening the book when the phone is calling. It is sitting down to work when comfort whispers, do it later. An A+ student has learned that progress is rarely dramatic, but it is always deliberate. They don't negotiate with their responsibilities. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They act, and in the acting, strength begins to grow. There will be days when the mind feels tired and the heart feels heavy. On those days, motivation may be silent, but discipline speaks clearly. It says, do the work anyway. It reminds the student that excellence is not built on excitement, but on obedience to purpose. Every disciplined choice becomes a vote for the person they are becoming. Over time, those votes add up, and what once felt difficult becomes natural. Discipline also brings freedom. When a student controls their habits no longer control them. They gain confidence because they trust themselves to show up. They gain peace because they are no longer chasing last-minute results. And slowly, quietly, discipline produces something motivation alone never can: consistency. The truth is simple and unchanging. Anyone can start strong, but only the disciplined finish strong. Talent may open a door, but discipline keeps it open. Intelligence may impress for a moment, but discipline delivers results that last. The A+ student understands this and lives by it daily. If you build discipline when motivation is weak, you will discover a strength within you that does not depend on how you feel, but on who you have chosen to become. In a world that is constantly pulling at your attention, focus has become rare, and because it is rare, it has become powerful. And a plus student understands that their greatest advantage is not intelligence, not talent, but the ability to give full attention to the task in front of them. While others allow their minds to be divided, they learn to be present. They choose depth over distraction, and that choice changes the quality of everything they do. Focus is not about studying longer, it is about studying with intention. It is the decision to shut out noise so that understanding can take root. And a plus student knows that every interruption steals more than time, it steals momentum, so they guard their attention carefully. They create spaces where learning can happen, moments where the mind can settle, and routines that train the brain to stay engaged. What looks like self-control from the outside is actually self-respect on the inside. There will always be messages to check, videos to watch, and voices competing for attention. But the focused student understands that not everything deserves access to their mind. They learn to say no to distractions so they can say yes to growth. This ability to concentrate does more than improve grades. It strengthens character. It teaches patience, endurance, and the discipline to remain with something until it is understood. When focus becomes a habit, confidence begins to grow. Concepts become clearer, learning becomes deeper. The student no longer rushes through material but absorbs it, and with that depth comes mastery. The A+ student is not racing others, they are building themselves. They are not trying to look busy, they are becoming effective. Focus also brings peace. When attention is controlled, anxiety loses its grip. The mind is no longer scattered, pulled in every direction. There is calm in knowing that you are fully engaged in what matters most, and from that calm comes strength, the kind of strength that carries a student through pressure, exams, and challenges without breaking. If you learn to command your attention and place it where it matters, you will discover that focus is not just a study skill. It is the quiet force that separates those who struggle. Every student will face failure at some point. A low grade, a missed question, an exam that didn't go as planned. What separates an A+ student from the rest is not the absence of failure, but the response to it. Where some see defeat, the A+ student sees direction. They understand that failure is not a verdict on who they are. It is information about what must change. It is not an enemy. It is a teacher. An A+ student does not run from mistakes or hide from disappointment. They lean in and ask the hard questions. What went wrong? Where did I lose focus? What must I do differently next time? This honest reflection turns setbacks into stepping stones. Instead of allowing failure to crush confidence, they allow it to sharpen character. They refuse to let one result define their worth or limit their future. There is a quiet strength in this mindset. It takes courage to admit weakness, but it takes wisdom to learn from it. The A+ student understands that growth demands humility. They are willing to be corrected because they are committed to becoming better. They know that every great achievement is built on lessons learned through struggle. Progress is rarely smooth, but it is always possible for those who keep learning. Failure also teaches resilience. When a student survives disappointment and chooses to rise again, something powerful happens inside. Fear begins to lose its hold. The student realizes that they can fail and still move forward. They can fall and still stand again. This realization builds confidence that no easy success ever could. It creates a mindset that is not fragile but firm. The truth is, the world does not reward perfection. It rewards perseverance. Those who grow are not those who never stumble, but those who refuse to stay down. The A+ student understands that every mistake, when faced with courage and honesty, becomes part of the path to mastery. If you learn to treat failure as feedback rather than defeat, you will discover that even your lowest moments can become the foundation of your greatest growth. Many students look for big breakthroughs, sudden changes, and dramatic moments of success. But the A+ student understands a quieter truth. Excellence is built in the ordinary moments of daily life. It is not one powerful study session that changes everything, but the decision to return again and again, even when progress feels slow. Consistency is not exciting, but it is effective, and over time it becomes unstoppable. An A+ student shows up on the days when nothing feels different. They study when improvement is invisible, trusting that effort is still working beneath the surface. Like planting seeds in the ground, they know growth does not appear immediately, but it always comes to those who are patient and faithful. They do not measure success by one result, but by the habits they keep. And those habits quietly shape their future. Consistency removes pressure. When a student studies a little every day, they are no longer overwhelmed by the weight of everything at once. Confidence replaces panic, and preparation replaces fear. The A+ student does not cram in desperation. They build steadily with intention. Each small effort adds another layer of understanding, another brick in a structure that grows stronger with time. There will be days when consistency feels boring, when the mind wants something new and exciting. But the A+ student has learned that boredom is not the enemy, distraction is. They remain faithful to the process, knowing that mastery is the reward of repetition. Over time, what once required effort begins to flow naturally. Discipline turns into habit, and habit turns into excellence. Consistency also builds trust within oneself. When a student keeps their word to themselves, confidence grows. They begin to believe not because of talent, but because of evidence. They have shown up before, and they will show up again. This quiet assurance becomes a source of strength that carries them through challenges without hesitation. The truth is simple. Extraordinary results are produced by ordinary actions repeated over time. The A+ student understands this and lives by it daily. If you remain consistent when results are small, you will one day look back and realize that those small choices created a future far greater than you ever imagined. At the heart of the A+ student mentality is a simple but demanding truth. Responsibility cannot be avoided. An A+ student understands that their results are not accidents and their circumstances are not excuses. They accept full ownership of their actions, their habits, and their outcomes. This mindset is not heavy, it is empowering, because the moment a student takes responsibility, they take control. Many people look outward when things go wrong. They blame the exam, the teacher, the system, the timing, but the A+ student looks inward. They ask, what could I have done better, not to punish themselves, but to grow. They understand that blame keeps you stuck, but responsibility moves you forward. When you own your results, you also own the power to change them. Taking responsibility means refusing to wait for someone else to rescue you. It means understanding that no one will study for you, focus for you, or sacrifice for you. The A+ student does not expect the path to be easy, but they accept it as theirs. They rise early when necessary. They adjust when they fall short. They do not waste energy explaining failure. They invest energy correcting it. There is dignity in this mindset. When a student stops making excuses, they stop shrinking. They stand taller because they know their effort matters. Responsibility builds maturity, and maturity builds strength. The A+ student becomes reliable not just to others, but to themselves. They learn that self-respect grows every time they choose effort over excuse. This responsibility also brings clarity. Instead of feeling helpless, the student feels directed. They know what must be done, and they do it. They understand that circumstances may influence them, but they do not define them. Even in difficulty, responsibility gives purpose. Even in pressure, it gives direction. The world rewards those who take responsibility because they can be trusted with greater opportunity. The A+ student understands this early. They prepare themselves not just for exams, but for life. where ownership always precedes achievement. When you fully accept responsibility for your results, you stop waiting for change and you become the reason change happens.